America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, one indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please follow me in honor of the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to Texas, one state under God, one indivisible. This meeting is being recorded. There is a quorum present. Members of the public may access the meeting. And the first item on our agenda is conduct of public hearing on the proposed to adopt a tax rate for 2020 at $0.1218 per $100 evaluation. This is a no new revenue rate. Liberty?
Sir, based upon the tax code and the truth and taxation items that come out from the comptroller's office, we're required to hold this public hearing to allow individuals to talk about any fors or against items related to the tax rate that we proposed at last week's meeting and that we will vote on at the following meeting. If you'll remember, we had a very lengthy discussion. We've had several as to setting this rate, and this rate is the no new revenue rate, which is the rate that provides you with the same taxes based upon the previous year. So that's all.
Are there any questions of Mr. Liberty? Yes, sir.
I'd like to move the approval because this is
At this point, we don't do anything but have a public hearing.
Thank you, sir.
So, but if anybody wants to address it, anybody at all that has feelings one way or the other about the tax rate, now's your opportunity. Seeing none, thank you, Mr. Liberty.
Yes, sir.
Next item on the agenda is adjournment and announcement of the chair of the board of the regular meeting, the Board of Trustees, begin at 1:30 p.m.
Move we adjourn.
Motion been made. Is there a second? Motion been made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Say aye. Motion carries.
And I move we start the other one right now.
You have to take your mask off. I can't hear what you're saying.
You wouldn't bring that to me.
Well, you speak into the microphone or something.
Yeah.
It's not picking up. Okay.
CTC.
Very little charter.
Says it over and over and over again. It's all.
1 minute warning.
Block like they used to have. Driving here. We will start right here. I'll talk about the countdown clock.
Welcome to the meeting of the Central Texas College District. First item on the agenda is the invocation, led by Holy, Pledge of Allegiance, led by Mr. Pierce, and the Texas Pledge, led by Mr. Booth.
Heavenly Father, thank you for the opportunity together. We ask that you take the lead in everything that we do, from the beginning of the purpose till the end. Guide our thoughts and our actions so that you're. Let us ever be forever mindful of our administrators. Everyone touches the life of the student process. Meaning, Father, we thank you for your care, your protection, your love. And we ask that every family represented, these blessings we ask and receive.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I, the Texas flag,
Pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state under God, one indivisible.
We have a quorum present, and this meeting is being recorded, and members of the public may access the meeting on the website. First item on the agenda is consider approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of the Board of Trustees held on July the 28th, 2020. And that information was passed in the read ahead. Any questions or any corrections on the board minutes? I'll entertain a motion.
Move they be approved.
second,
Motion been made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
aye,
Motion carries. Next item is a chairman's update, an opportunity for members of the public to suggest additional topics for discussion or to address topics of interest with a presentation limited to 3 minutes. Does anyone present like to address the board? Seeing none. One item of interest for the board is at the last meeting of the Foundation Board of Directors, there was a comment and a discussion reference the autonomy of that particular board. There were some members of the Foundation Board who wanted to literally interpret the bylaws that said it's an autonomous organization and doesn't want the College Board of Trustees to have any influence whatsoever in what that body does. I'd like to suggest that as a discussion for our next workshop. And you can put that on the agenda. We got it. Question. The next item is the Chancellor's report.
A couple of things, sir. Summer dress, I've extended that through January because typically we're not having any students out here, but each deputy for their division, and their divisions are different, will roll out their guidance to their folks on the summer dress, but no ties, basically. Phase 4 of our reopening began this week, and if you're not familiar with that, it's on our website. But all of our employees are back to work, so that's a good thing. And I just sent a memo out, and the chair has read it. I don't know the rest of you had an opportunity yet, and it talks about due to our low enrollments, we've had to take our next measure. Our next step is to curtail all spending as much as we can, and it's going to take everybody on this campus to do that. And I say this campus, I'm talking about worldwide, to make that happen. And Mr. Liberty will mention that in his remarks. Other than that, we have a couple of video, I think, and some pictures. Just pictures. Okay, Barbara, you're up, and then. Also, while she's doing that, I've got something I'm going to have Mr. Gonzalez pass out to you. I teased Dr. Kraft that I wanted some of his face masks because they're from his schools, and he wanted one from us. I said, we don't have one. Well, we do have one. And so I've asked Mr. Gonzalez to give each of you one of these for your safekeeping and to wear it safely, and we'll send you the bill later. I know you need two, right, Pierce?
No. So when I I won't mention my daughter's college because this is CTC, the greatest campus around, right?
Right.
So we were up there dropping her off at college the other day. I looked everywhere for a face mask with her school's initials on it.
Right.
We couldn't find them.
Good. We beat somebody.
Roger that.
Is that
Yes.
TWC?
No.
Oh, where?
You don't mind if I announce it?
No,
Dallas Baptist.
Dallas Baptist. Okay.
Watch, they'll have some tomorrow.
Okay. Thank you. Barbara?
I'm actually here on behalf of Dr. Garrett. And the first slide, I just wanted to keep visibility on the CTC Lives because it's been a campus-wide effort coordinated by Marceli Vargas in the Student Life Office with some help from Bruce Fassbinder in my office. This just shows a couple of the most recent. We've really had a lot of faculty and departments take advantage of it so that they can talk to students and tell them about the programs. This was business, histology, hospitality, computer science, and that was a faculty presentation on the instructional methods. So they did a whole CTC Live about the synchronous virtual so the students would know what it was. I'm not sure that they still know what it is, but we're working on it. And then also we did virtual new student orientation twice in August, most recently last Thursday. A lot of our staff is thinking this may be a better option than the in-person because they can do a lot more. They do the breakout sessions with each one of our pathways. So we have 6 focus areas and faculty from those areas kind of outline which programs are in those areas. So students can go to those based on their interests. And then their general sessions as well that teach them how to log into Blackboard and about Eagle Mail and a little bit about student life. And then that's this week. And I wanted to bring it to your attention because if any of you all frequent our Facebook or Instagram pages, this is all over the place. And the library did virtual Pictionary yesterday for like 3 hours. So it's pretty funny to go look at the YouTube recording of all the people commenting and guessing. So anyway, it is what it is, and they're doing what they can do.
Dr. Adie?
Good afternoon. I have participated in virtual Pictionary before, and you would think, can you really do this online? It is absolutely hilarious if you do. What you see here is a picture of the virtual pre-service. Normally we have 2 days right before the fall semester begins that we teach our faculty, that we get together and we do presentations. And so this year we did a little bit differently. We had 4 sessions total, 2 on Tuesday and 2 on Wednesday. And we had over 200 faculty participate. So department chairs, full-time adjunct, Fort Hood service area, everybody was invited. And the focus of this pre-service was to highlight different platforms that we have available to broadcast the synchronous virtual lecture courses with. So for the most part, our faculty use Blackboard Collaborate, but we had a few other platforms that we introduced. We also had a few faculty share best practices. So we have some that are actually recording their sessions on their own time. Then students can watch the video, and then during the class time, which is also virtual, they discuss different topics and things like that, and apply the knowledge that students learn through the online lecture. So the faculty absolutely love that. You know, in addition to the virtual pre-service that we hold, we have in-service in January, and then we also have monthly department chair meetings. So faculty said we want to do this virtually again, so they really enjoyed this. This here's a slide about net impact. As you know, this is a club we have here, and it falls under the business department. And our club, the net impact, was awarded the gold chapter status for accomplishments in the 1920 school year, which is the third consecutive year in a row for this honor. Net impact that you see did activities. This is a pre-COVID picture, as you could see. We had different activities set up here on campus. It is part of the Up to Us campaign, which focuses on sustainable economic and fiscal future for the next generation. So what you can see here, it's not Family Feud, it's called Debt Feud. So students had to answer questions, and they were participating. So since the pandemic started, we have gone to virtual sessions, but still Net Impact is continuing with its effort to put out information on the Up to Us campaign.
Mr. Harmson?
Good afternoon. As you may recall, the signage project was originally part of a larger gateway project that we had brought to the board on a number of occasions. In order to reduce some costs, we were able to go ahead and modify the overall scope to what you see today. The monument that we had started with was the one on the left, which was a bell tower example. We have the fencing, which will be used for signage. So if we need to communicate Red Ribbon Week or something else, we can go ahead and look at putting the banners on there. It'll work very nice to communicate with the public. And then I think the sign that really pops and it complements the one that we did along Interstate 14 was the horizontal extended logo. I did want to mention that William Duggar, the ground supervisor, and his team were the ones who actually built the letters that we are using there. So they're extremely talented, and it was able to save us a significant amount of dollars. I will also mention that when we started this project, we had completed the tower on the left and had just started the horizontal logo on the right when the COVID situation hit. There were discussions and had brought to the board about going to other locations throughout campus. But because of our financial situation, we made the decision to just stop with these two signs at Clear Creek and Central Texas College Drive. As our financial situation improves, we will look again to further the signage throughout campus. But again, I want to thank William for their great work. I think it looks really, if you guys haven't driven by, please do so. I think it really highlights the college level.
Mark, what are those made out of?
They're all made out of concrete. So they had to create individual templates. They had to weld in the rebar, and then they went ahead and poured them. We actually have another set of letters we're looking at to potentially put up somewhere else.
Those letters are about 4 foot tall, 5 foot tall?
These here are about 3 feet tall, and they weigh probably about 400 pounds a piece. So they're not just going to tip over. So they should be there for a while.
Yeah. Thank you. Sir, that concludes my report.
Thank you, sir. The next item on the agenda is discuss, consider approval of the July 2020 interim financial statement and investment report. Mr. Liberty.
Should have a copy of the financial statements in front of you. I will share with you, I finished these after our workshop last week. And the minute I finished them, I forwarded them to Dr. Carter, as I always do, with the note that said, hey, the summer swoon, as I kind of like to refer to it, when we slow down with revenue coming in on the summer, but you still have the same number of expenses. They continue to pay the chancellor even in the summer. It crept up on us a little faster than we thought it would. And of course, that was related to what's going on with our enrollments due to COVID. So immediately when I sent them, as well as sending them, I started doing research, looking at the numbers, and having conversations with Dr. Carter and the chancellor to think about how we can work to fix this situation as soon as possible. As you know, and you can see from looking at these financial statements, through the year, the end of July, we have a net loss of almost $900,000 at the college. Somebody could very easily go in here and look at this number and say, well, yeah, you do have a net loss, but take a look at your cash and your investments and could rest on their laurels. That's not what we do out here. We immediately tried to figure out, okay, how do we eliminate this? Because we don't think it's going to go away right away in the fall semester. The fall semester is normally your strongest semester. It's your biggest semester. You have your highest enrollments. And actually, the way historically it has worked out here, you bank money in the fall term, and you start to kind of small up that net income a little bit. So your bottom line gets a little smaller during the spring, and then you hold on for dear life in the summer and hope you can stay in the black with what's going on in the summer. Based upon with us COVID, what it's been doing to us, we figured we need to see if we can get on the ball real fast and do something above and beyond what we've already been doing to stem our expenditures. You know, the enrollments, we're doing all we can. Barbara showed you different things that we're doing up here to try to encourage students. But even with that going on, at the time I did this last week, and then when we had our meeting yesterday over the phone, the deputy chancellor, the chancellor, and myself, at that point in time, we were, our enrollments for the fall were down over 30%. And today's first day of classes, you know, registration period is pretty much over, so you're not gonna, you don't see a big ad period the first week of classes. You have drops in ads, and they're normally equal. So when we prepared the budget, as you all know, we discussed preparing that budget with a 20% decrease in fall enrollment. But instead we had a 30%. So immediately we said, okay, what can we do to start working on that immediately? Like I said, I looked at the numbers, and I want to share something with you because I think it's very important to see how we did expense-wise prior to, during COVID, and where we're going. You know, prior to COVID, our monthly expenditures for the college, the first 6 months through February, averaged about $8.7 million a month. That's what our spend was. When COVID first started, you know, you start putting things in place as fast as you can, but it takes a little while. So the months of March, April, and May, we had dropped that from 8.7 to 7.7. So we eliminated $1 million a month of expenditures. June and July, we dropped that to 7.3 million. So we're knocking that number down as fast as we can. Unfortunately, the revenue number was dropping even faster. We were averaging $5.9 million a month pre-COVID. After COVID, it was 4.7, and now it's 3.5 of your operating revenue. So we're spending more money than we're bringing in. And we know we've put a budget together with that anticipated reduction of 20% and cut expenditures, but we knew we needed to do more. Something else, you know, we talked about, and we talked about the chancellor's budget message and things that we did and things that are hard to do when you've been here as long as some of us have. You know, we eliminated many open positions in the budget. And eliminating an open position is not real hard because it's, you know, I got a position to hire a secretary. I don't have a secretary. I just take it out of the budget. That's not the hardest thing in the world. It means someone's got to do a little extra work. But we also eliminated over $1.3 million of employees in the month of August that we determined we just didn't have the enrollments and the work for them to justify their position. So you take a look at that, that's included in the budget. That was part of where we had, what we had to do to get to where we were in the budget. But even with all that, as you look at these numbers, and our spend will probably go down to about 6.9 million if we spend based upon what's in the budget. That's still not enough to account for the reduction in revenue based upon where the enrollments are. So we immediately started thinking about where do we go from here? What else could we do? I don't think, and none of us others thought that we were at a point where we could immediately start eliminating any more employees, because we already have quite a few folks with the eliminations that we did and the fact that we're not filling positions. So we started immediately thinking about ideas. We had a discussion with, as I said, myself and the DCs and the chancellor yesterday. And we're fluid out here. We don't sit around. Things go fast. We already today, the chancellor mentioned it before this meeting today. Every employee's got a copy of the email that kind of it's a message that shares with them what our financial position is, what our concerns are, what we've already put in place to help slow down the expenditures, and what else we're going to put in place starting immediately. So if you will remember, some of the things that we've done prior to today was we created a hiring freeze when a position is open. Even if a new position comes open today or a position that was already open, you have to justify it all the way through your deputy chancellor, but then you have to convince the chancellor as well to sign off on it. And I can tell you, he's not approving near as many as he's did. We also eliminated purchases of non-critical items indefinitely. It's got to be critical for us to do it. We almost completely eliminated construction projects. The one that Mark showed you up there, it was already in progress. We couldn't leave it sitting where it was. We had a contract, we had to finish it, but we're not going to execute any new ones. And we could. You need to explain to us why we absolutely have to spend it. So we're requiring folks to dig a little deeper when it comes down to what you need. We've put something together where we basically encouraged everyone to get together in your entire division. For example, Dr. Ady was one of the presenters earlier. Her division encompasses, the academic programs here at Fort Hood and throughout the rest of the world. Well, it gets a little tougher when you get farther away from the flagpole at the sites. But here locally, between our campus and Fort Hood, we want you, before you go to Perry's and you need to buy new pens, send an email to all the other departmental secretaries and find out if they have any extra pens. Why go buy them if somebody's got them stashed away somewhere? Because most of us have played the budget game before, and even though we try real hard, there's folks sometimes that like to stock up because they don't know that they're going to get the money again the next time. So there's probably areas that have extra pens. I'm in love with this little blue pen. That's the pen Bob uses. I sign everything with these pens. I like the way they write. I like the color they are. This is the last one in our office. There's 5 boxes of these black pens I hate. Guess what? Bob will start using black pens. It doesn't sound like a lot, but you start adding up $300 or $400 and you multiply it by 50 departments and you've got real money. We have also decided we wanted to make sure everybody looked real close at memberships and subscriptions that they buy. They need to really make sure that those items need to be purchased right now, this year, or can we hold off potentially until next fiscal year, or maybe can we push it back later in the fiscal year? If you got a chair that goes bad, we have a contract and we have a great price on chairs, but what we also have is some. I used to be a used car salesman, so we have some gently used chairs up in the warehouse that we're encouraging you to go shop at the warehouse first, because it costs nothing to buy one from the warehouse. And we have also pretty much, I'm going to say we've eliminated food purchases, because you have to get his approval before you can do anything related to food. And that's kind of been a bailiwick of the chancellors ever since he became the chancellor. Well, come on, people are going to eat one way or the other. They're going to have a meeting. Why are we buying food? So we are going to look at all of those items to try to help us cut back the dollars. I know that's a very deep explanation of our financial position, but our financial statements, we know what they look like from month to month. We have the same type of things. Nothing major changes. It's just, this is a major change because of the fact that COVID has depleted our enrollment so much. Even though we put things in place and already cut 8 or 9% out of the budget, we're asking everybody to help us go even farther. Just because we put that money in your budget, do you really need to spend it right now? Can you hold off until the spring semester, and hopefully by then the spring semester, the enrollments have bounced back. So kind of a long-winded discussion, but that's my discussion related to the interim financial statement. So.
Any questions of Mr. Liberty?
No question, just a compliment to you and Chancellor for taking these steps. And I know it's not easy, but I appreciate it. I think others do too.
And I will share with you, sir, all 3 deputy chancellors were on that call. Everybody had buy-in. Every one of the deputy chancellors eliminated people from their budget to help. And that's the key. The very end of this message that the chancellor wrote was to remind everybody, together we can get through this, but we all got to do it.
Mr. Chairman, I do have a comment.
Yes,
Bob,
sir.
thank you for your report. And I'm so moved by it. I want to pay for my mask and encourage all the rest of our members of the board to receive the mask to pay theirs.
I'll take that, sir, but I don't have any change.
No, I got the exact amount.
Thank you, sir.
No other questions. I'll entertain a motion. Motion been made. And a second. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is discuss and consider adoption of the Central Texas College District budget for the fiscal year beginning 1 September 2020, ending August 31st, 2021. This is reference board document number 229, revision 33. Mr. Liberty.
Sir, this was presented to the board last week. I haven't received any calls from anybody with questions. I had a question from Mr. Hollinger, and him and I have already discussed that. The one thing I do want to point out is I just shared with you that we prepared this budget using an estimate that's slightly different from what's actually happening. But we also cut some revenue in other places above and beyond what we were told was going to happen. I don't trust the state of Texas. I think they're going to ask us for some money back, so I included that in this budget. But the most important part about all that is I don't think we need to change this budget. The dollars are there that we included, but as I shared with you earlier, and we shared with everybody in the message that went out before this meeting, just because it's in your budget doesn't mean you're automatically authorized to spend it. Now you still have to request to spend those dollars. So I think with these other items that we have put in place and the additional fiscal constraints that we put on everybody, we should be able to work awful hard to keep that budget as close to where we put it together, which, if you will remember, was about a $500,000 loss. Our goal is to get that loss to zero, but we should be able to keep it somewhere in that ballpark with the other items.
Any questions on the budget?
Move we approve it.
Motion been made
Second.
and seconded. Any discussion on that motion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Liberty, on
Yes,
that
sir.
one.
Yes, sir.
Now, the next item is discuss and consider approval of the adoption of the ad valorem tax rate for tax year 2020. And that tax rate, in case you've forgotten, is 12 cents and 18 mils per $100 of valuation. Mr. Liberty.
Okay, that rate is also the rate that is, we discussed it at the last, we had a special meeting to propose a rate. So now we need to vote on that rate. We had a private, we had a public meeting earlier, public hearing with no comments. I was hoping we'd actually get somebody to come in to tell us how wonderful a job we're doing. Because I did notice that some of you probably have also noticed that the city of Harper Heights has decided to raise their tax rate about 8%. They've gone just under the the voter required level. And if you'll remember, the discussion we had here was we almost felt it would be criminal to raise taxes with everything else that's happened. And even with what I just told you about how hard we're working to balance this budget, I still think it would be criminal to raise taxes at this point in time. So the board is going to receive the recommendation from the administration that still 100% agree with going with the no new revenue rate of 0.1218 for the next tax year.
Any questions of Mr. Liberty?
Once again, we've got to compliment Mr. Liberty and the chancellor and the rest of the staff and the working folks out there for coming up with items that will allow us to pass this tax. Right? Therefore, I'll move we approve.
Motion been made and seconded. Any discussion on that motion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item is discuss and consider approval to exercise the third option period of the investment advisory services contract with Hilltop Holding Incorporated for the period of 1 September 2020 through August 31st, 2021. Mr. Liberty.
Yes, sir. This is the extension of our investment advisory service that we talked about at the last workshop. It will be to offer them a contract for the second year of the 5 option years that we are authorized based upon the contract. And we recommend that the board approve that wholeheartedly. They're one of the best vendors that we do.
Any questions of Mr. Liberty?
I move approval.
Motion been made. I hear a second.
Second.
And seconded to approve the exercise of the third year option. Any discussion on that motion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Somebody left the pen up here. I appreciate it.
The next item is discuss consider approval to issue blank purchase orders as vendors on the list of goods and or services for purchases of $50,000 or more in the aggregate during the fiscal year beginning 1 September 2020. Mr. Gonzalez.
Good afternoon, members of the board. I'm here to seek board approval of the 50K list. If you'll recall, the 50K list will authorize administration to issue blanket purchase orders to vendors on the list of goods and services. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them at this time.
Any questions of Mr. Gonzalez?
Now, does that, I mean, if I'm wrong, but does this apply even with everybody having to go to you for expenditures, for requests for expenditures?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
We don't need to lower that threshold down even
No.
further?
Sir, I'm going to jump in. I'm sorry. It's a safety feature to do it that way because if we did those items, we're going to end up having to do it. We have to come back to the board and potentially delay operations until we get approval to spend over that level.
Okay. Yeah, what I can share with you too is that everything in here has gone through the deputy chancellor, and our policies. And actually, this request for BPO amounts is actually down over 11% from last year, so substantially.
Okay.
Any other discussion? I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
The motion been made and seconded. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
The next item is discuss and consider approval to exercise the first option period for the Heights Lumber contract for the purchase of hardwood and plywood products, building, grounds, and construction-related products, and other specialty building construction-related products for the period of 1 September 2020 through August 31st, 2021. Mr. Harmsen?
Yes, we discussed this at the board workshop. I won't spend a whole lot of time. The recommendation is to exercise the first option period of the Heights Lumber contract.
Any questions of Mr. Harmsen?
So moved.
Motion been made and seconded. All those, any discussion on the motion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item is discuss and consider approval to exercise the third option period for the Impact 5 contract to perform regular maintenance, repair, and testing services on fire alarm suspension systems throughout the central campus, the Fort Hood, and the airport found locations for the period of June 1, 2020 through May 31st, 2021.
Right,
Mr. Armisen,
again, the recommendation is to exercise the third option period with impact factor.
any questions, Mr. Harmsen? Will entertain a motion then? Motion been made
Second.
and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Next item, discuss and consider approval to exercise the first option period for the PBK contract for architectural and engineering services for the period of 1 April 2020 through March 31st, 2021. Mr. Harmsen.
The recommendation is to exercise the first option period for the PPK contract.
Any questions, Mr. Harmsen? I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any discussion on that motion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Discuss and consider approval to exercise the first option period of the Texas Materials Group Incorporated for asphalt and paving services to parking lot and road work for the period of September the 1st, 2020 through August 31st, 2021. Mr. Harmsen.
The recommendation is to exercise the first option period for the Texas Materials asphalt and paving contract.
Any questions of Mr. Harmsen? I'll entertain a motion. Motion been made.
Second.
Seconded. Any discussion on that motion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item is recommending topics for upcoming agenda or announcements by the board members. I'll start with Ms. Coley.
No, sir.
No.
Yes. Just a comment. The value of having workshops and discussing these things moves this process along, and I'm grateful that we do it that way.
Thank you, sir. It's a good comment. The next item is announcement of time and location of the board workshop scheduled for Tuesday, September the 15th, 2020, and the board meeting scheduled for Tuesday, September the 22nd, 2020. And now we'll adjourn for an executive session. I'd like all the board members to meet in the conference room.
You want me to go on there? Want me to wait here? Okay.
I call the meeting back to order. The board had an executive session, and as a result of that executive session, we have a motion.
Motion man not here. Oh,
I'm coming. Had to get a calendar, so my motion is correct. Mr. Chair, move that we offer our chancellor a 3-year contract effective September 1st of 2020 and extending through August 31st, 2023.
That's the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any discussion on that motion?
and we're doing this because he's done such a great job, and we have such great confidence in him. I want to say thank you.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Are none, motion carries.
Thank you.
Last item on agenda is adjournment, and
So
we'll
moved.
take a motion
So moved.
made and seconded, and please vote with your feet.
Don's already halfway out the door.